brain was never actually designed to make you happy? Take a moment to really think about that. What if the chronic anxiety, the relentless overthinking, and that heavy, persistent feeling that something is missing in your life is not a personal failure at all? What if it is not a sign that you are broken or weak or unsuited for this world? What if, instead, it is simply a survival system running exactly the way it was built to run? We live in a culture that sells us the illusion that happiness should be our default state. We look at our screens and see endless feeds of curated, perfect lives, and we wonder why we feel so restless inside. But the truth is, your brain has one main job. Just one. To keep you alive. It does not care if you are peaceful. It does not care if you feel fulfilled or spiritually aligned. It cares about your survival. Once you truly understand this evolutionary truth, your entire life and your entire relationship with your own mind starts making sense. It explains why your mind loves to replay your most embarrassing moments from years ago while you're trying to fall asleep. It explains why a relatively small problem at work can feel like an absolute catastrophe at 2 in the morning. It explains why a single ignored text message from someone you care about can completely ruin your mood for the entire day, or why, even during your best, most successful moments, a part of you still feels uneasy, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is not a defect in your character. That is ancient programming. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors survived in an incredibly hostile environment by constantly expecting danger. The humans who stayed hyper-alert, the ones who assumed that every rustle in the bushes was a predator, were the ones who survived long enough to pass on their genes. The ones who assumed everything was safe and relaxed under a tree did not last very long. So, over millennia, your brain evolved to become a master problem scanner. It is a highly sophisticated radar system that is constantly scanning your horizon for threats, mistakes, rejections, and anything else that could potentially hurt you or alienate you from the tribe. But here is where the modern tragedy lies. Your brain is still using that exact same primitive survival system today, but you're living in a world that is completely different from the one it evolved in. Today, we do not have to worry about saber-toothed tigers. Instead, our threats are social, emotional, and psychological. We live in a fast-paced, hyper-connected society where the pressure to perform, achieve, and fit in is relentless. When a Slack message from your boss gets ignored, or someone leaves you on read, your primitive brain does not see a busy colleague or a friend who forgot their phone. It senses isolation. It treats it like tribal rejection, which, in the ancient world, meant certain death. When you make one minor mistake during a presentation, your brain treats it like an existential failure. When you look at LinkedIn or Instagram and see someone your age who seems more successful, more wealthy, or more stable, your brain treats it as a sign that you are falling behind, that you are losing the race for resources, and that you are unsafe. It is the exact same ancient brain navigating a completely different world. Because this survival system runs entirely on autopilot, most of us spend years, even decades, carrying an invisible weight of shame. We believe there is something fundamentally wrong with us. We ask ourselves why we cannot just be happy, why we cannot just relax and enjoy our lives. But there is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. Your brain is simply repeating the patterns and pathways that it has practiced the most. And that is exactly where everything changes because your brain is not fixed. It is not a static piece of hardware that you are stuck with for the rest of your life. It possesses a beautiful, miraculous quality called neuroplasticity. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself, shifting and reshaping its structure based on what you repeatedly think, what you repeatedly feel, and what you repeatedly do. This means that your daily habits, your morning routines, and even the way you respond to stress are not just casual choices. They are literal instructions. You're teaching your brain what pathways to strengthen and which ones to let wither away. If you spend every day repeatedly practicing stress, comparison, distraction, and overthinking, your brain becomes incredibly efficient at those things. It builds a massive, multi-lane highway for anxiety. But if you repeatedly choose to practice calm, focus, gratitude, and presence, your brain starts strengthening those pathways instead. This realization brings an incredibly powerful shift in perspective. You do not need to undergo a radical transformation or become an entirely different person to feel better. You simply need to train your brain differently. You need to guide it out of emergency mode. Let us walk through 10 foundational habits that can slowly, gently rewire your brain away from constant survival mode and guide it toward genuine peace, mental clarity, and emotional balance. These are not quick fixes or overnight miracles. They are sustainable, daily shifts that create permanent, structural change over time. The first habit is learning how to interrupt the negative loop. Most people do not realize just how automatic their thought patterns really are. A single, tiny trigger happens, maybe a critical comment from a coworker or a slightly cold tone from a partner, and suddenly your mind is off to the races. It starts spiraling downward, overthinking every variable, imagining the worst-case scenarios, replaying old arguments, and effectively creating massive problems that do not even exist yet. The longer you allow this mental loop to run without interruption, the stronger it becomes. In neuroscience, there's a famous principle: neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you allow a worry spiral to finish its entire dramatic narrative, you're making it easier for your brain to spiral the exact same way tomorrow. The goal here is not to eliminate negative thoughts entirely. That is a cultural myth, and frankly, it is anatomically impossible. The true goal is to interrupt the pattern before it takes complete control of your nervous system. The very moment you catch your mind starting to spiral, you need to implement a pattern interrupt. Pause. Literally stop what you're doing. Look around the room you are currently in. Intentionally shift your focus onto something physical and tangible in your immediate environment. Focus on the physical sensation of your feet resting flat against the floor. Listen closely to the low hum of the fan or the air conditioning. Focus on the rhythm of your own breath moving in and out of your chest. Do anything that brings you back to what is real right here, right now. Attention is the ultimate currency of your mind. Wherever your attention goes repeatedly, the brain allocates resources to strengthen that pathway. Every single time you interrupt a negative loop and choose to anchor yourself in reality, you weaken the old, anxious pathway. Every redirection is a building block for a new, calmer mind. The second habit is learning to stay with positive moments longer. There is a strange, frustrating quirk about human biology. Negative experiences are automatically recorded in our long-term memory, while positive moments slide right off us. Psychologists often say that the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. You could receive 10 beautiful, heartfelt compliments throughout your workday and one single piece of constructive criticism. Guess which one your brain is going to obsess over during your evening commute? The criticism. Your survival brain prioritizes problems because it believes that remembering mistakes is the only way to keep you safe. What this means for us in modern society is that if you want more happiness and peace in your life, you cannot simply wait around for better things to happen to you. You have to actively train your brain to absorb and integrate them. When something genuinely good happens, no matter how small it might seem, you have to consciously choose to pause. Do not just rush past it to get to the next task on your to-do list. Whether it is a quiet, peaceful morning before the chaos starts, a genuine laugh shared with a friend, a good conversation, the relief of finishing a difficult project, or even just a warm cup of coffee, stay with that feeling for a few extra seconds. Hold it in your awareness for 15 or 30 seconds. Breathe it in. Feel it completely in your body. The longer you emotionally hold onto a positive experience, the more deeply your brain stores it in its neural architecture. Over time, this practice tilts the scales. Your brain slowly stops scanning exclusively for danger and begins to naturally notice, appreciate, and expect the good moments in life. And really quickly, if you're still listening to this, it means that something inside you resonates with these truths. You recognize these patterns in your own life. In our fast-paced digital world, most people hear information like this and instantly swipe away to the next piece of content. But you are still here, which means you are ready to change the way your mind operates. Take a second right now to subscribe. Do not do it just for entertainment, but do it as a conscious commitment to your own growth. Your brain changes through consistent repetition, and sometimes having one powerful, grounding reminder every week is exactly what it takes to slowly pull yourself out of survival mode. The future version of you will look back and be incredibly grateful that you took this step today. The third habit is to systematically reduce mental noise. Your brain was never designed to process the endless, unceasing mountain of stimulation that we feed it every single day. Think about the average morning. Most people wake up, and within the first 60 seconds of opening their eyes, they flood their minds with text notifications, breaking news, short-form videos, political arguments, email demands, and curated social media feeds. We go about our days with headphones permanently in our ears, listening to music, podcasts, or audiobooks while we walk, drive, cook, and clean. There is no silence. There is no stillness. There's absolutely no space left for the mind to breathe. Eventually, your brain becomes profoundly exhausted, but because this high-stimulation lifestyle is our cultural norm, we do not even realize why we feel so drained. Sometimes, your anxiety is not actually coming from the circumstances of your life. It is coming directly from chronic overstimulation. Your nervous system is constantly stuck in a low-grade state of fight or flight because it is trying to process thousands of inputs at once. To fix this, you must deliberately create small, sacred pockets of silence throughout your day. Try going outside for a 10-minute walk without your headphones. Sit in your car for a few moments before running your errands without immediately checking your phone. Try eating just one meal a day in complete distraction-free silence. At first, this is going to feel intensely uncomfortable. Your brain is heavily addicted to the cheap dopamine hits of modern technology, and silence will initially feel like boredom or agitation. But if you stick with it, your nervous system will begin to settle. Slowly, silence will stop feeling empty, and it will start feeling incredibly peaceful. The fourth habit is to move your body daily. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your brain is separate from the rest of your body, as if your mind is just a computer sitting on top of a biological machine. But they are completely, inextricably linked. Every single second, your body is sending signals up to your brain about how safe or threatened you should feel, and movement changes your mental state faster than almost anything else. When you sit at a desk all day, staring at a laptop screen with tight shoulders and shallow breathing, your physical stillness signals to your brain that you are trapped or frozen. The stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline that build up throughout a stressful workday stay trapped inside your tissues. Physical movement acts as a release valve. It signals safety to your central nervous system. It lets your body know that it is allowed to come out of the freeze response. You do not need to commit to grueling, exhausting hours at the gym to make this work. A simple 15-minute walk around your neighborhood, some light stretching on your living room floor, or just moving around your house counts. The goal here is never physical perfection or aesthetic achievement. The goal is simply motion, because motion directly changes your emotion. You will find that some of your heaviest, most persistent thoughts completely disappear the moment your body starts moving. The fifth habit is to stop treating rest like a source of guilt. In our modern society, we suffer from a toxic obsession with productivity. We have built a hustle culture where our self-worth is entirely tied to our output, our career achievements, and our busyness. As a result, many of us have lost the ability to truly rest. We might be sitting physically still on the couch, but mentally, we are running a marathon. We feel a constant, nagging sense of guilt. We think about what we should be doing, how we are falling behind, or how we haven in oppos to earn the right to relax. Because of this mental chatter, your nervous system never actually drops into a state of deep recovery. Your brain cannot heal, reset, or rewire when it is under constant internal pressure. Rest is not a luxury. It is not laziness. and it is certainly not something you need to earn only after you are completely exhausted. Rest is an essential biological necessity. It is the period where your brain processes emotion, integrates memory, and clears out cellular waste. Sleep improves your emotional regulation. Taking breaks improves your long-term cognitive focus. Moments of stillness improve your creative clarity. Even the most advanced, powerful machines will overheat and break down if they are run endlessly without a pause. Yet, we expect ourselves to function at peak performance 24/7. Give your brain the recovery periods it desperately needs to function properly. And let go of the idea that your worth as a human being is defined by your productivity. The sixth habit is to bring back the concept of play. This is easily one of the most important habits for psychological well-being, and yet, it is almost entirely ignored in adult life. When we are children, play is our natural state of being. We draw, we build, we invent games, and we explore simply because it feels good. But as we transition into adulthood, we are taught to optimize everything. Every single hobby must have a purpose. It needs to be productive, it needs to be monetized, it needs to be measured, or it needs to look good on a resume or social media profile. If we take up running, we have to track our pace and train for a marathon. If we enjoy painting, we feel like we should start an Etsy shop. Eventually, life starts to feel incredibly heavy because every single activity has some form of performance pressure attached to it. Pure play changes the chemistry of the brain. It creates a beautiful state of focus without the presence of stress. It cultivates a sense of presence without force, and it allows you to experience joy completely detached from achievement. Ask yourself this question. What did you genuinely enjoy doing before life became so serious? Before you had bills to pay and a career to build? Was it drawing, playing music, video games, recreational sports, building things with your hands, or just sitting around laughing hysterically with people? Bring a small piece of that back into your life. Do not do it for success. Do not do it to get better at a skill. Do it purely because your brain needs moments where it feels alive, carefree, and unbound by expectations. The seventh habit is to closely watch what you repeat to yourself. Your brain is a highly cooperative organ that listens intently to your internal dialogue. The words you constantly use in your self-talk matter far more than you realize. If your internal narrator is constantly saying things like, "I am so far behind in life, I always screw things up," or "I'm just not good enough to sustain happiness," your brain takes those statements as literal facts. If you repeat a narrative enough times, your brain will actually alter your perception of reality to find evidence that supports it. It accepts those scripts as truth. Start paying very close attention to how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake or when you are feeling low. This is not about adopting toxic positivity. It is not about looking in the mirror and repeating fake, overly optimistic affirmations that you do not actually believe. It is simply about moving toward accuracy and self-compassion. Instead of telling yourself, "I always fail at everything," shift your language slightly to, "I made a mistake, but I am learning how to navigate this." Instead of saying, "Nothing in my life is working out," try rephrasing it to, "This particular season is really difficult right now, but I'm doing the best I can." These subtle shifts in your vocabulary create massive emotional shifts over time. Your thoughts eventually harden into your deeply held beliefs, and those beliefs ultimately dictate your identity. Speak to yourself with the same kindness and objectivity you would offer to a close friend. The eighth habit is to fiercely protect your attention. Your attention is quite literally your life. Whatever you allow to consistently capture your focus will ultimately shape your emotional baseline and your worldview. Unfortunately, in today's landscape, most people give their attention away all day long without a second thought. They allow sophisticated algorithms to decide exactly what they should think about, what they should fear, what they should outrage over, and who they should compare themselves to. You must protect your mind with the same intensity that you would protect your physical home. Not every headline, not every email, and not every social media trend deserves access to your conscious awareness. Some types of content are specifically engineered to drain your energy and keep your amygdala on high alert. Some people in your circle leave you feeling completely depleted every time you interact with them. Some environments train your brain to remain in a state of chronic, low-level panic. Start paying close attention to how you feel after you consume something or spend time with someone. If it leaves you feeling anxious, insecure, or cynical about the world, set a firm boundary. Your brain becomes a reflection of what it repeatedly absorbs. Choose your inputs wisely. The ninth habit is to practice the art of being present. If you look closely at human suffering, you will find that the vast majority of it lives in only two places: the past or the future. We suffer from regret, shame, and grief over things that have already happened and cannot be changed. Or we suffer from intense anxiety, fear, and worst-case scenarios about a future that hasn't even occurred yet and likely never will. Meanwhile, if you look at the absolute present moment, right here, right now, it is usually far less painful than the mind makes it out to be. But your brain will rarely stay in the present moment on its own. Because of its survival evolution, it naturally wants to wander back to past mistakes or leap forward to future threats. Therefore, presence must be treated as a skill that you actively build through practice. You build it through tiny, mundane moments throughout your day. Practice truly feeling the warmth of the water on your hands while you are washing the dishes. Practice actually tasting your food when you take a bite, rather than scrolling through your phone at the same time. Notice the subtle colors of the sky during your drive home. Listen with your absolute, undivided attention when someone is speaking to you. These seem like incredibly simple, almost insignificant actions, but every time you bring your mind back to the physical reality of the present, you are teaching your brain a profound lesson. You are teaching it that life is happening right now, in the physical world, and not inside the imagined, terrifying futures of your thoughts. The 10th and final habit is to focus on repeating small actions consistently. This is the exact step where most people fail. We live in a society that primes us to want instant gratification and massive transformations overnight. We want the one perfect morning routine, the one motivational video, or the one highly productive week that fixes everything forever. But that is simply not how human neurology works. Your brain does not change through short bursts of high intensity. It changes through steady, consistent repetition. Massive, sudden efforts usually overwhelm the nervous system and trigger the survival brain to pull you back to your comfort zone. True, lasting structural changes in your neural pathways are built through tiny, almost imperceptible actions repeated day after day. Taking 3 deep, conscious breaths every single morning. Going for a short, 10-minute walk every afternoon. Spending just 15 minutes a day without your phone nearby. Catching and interrupting just one negative spiral before it takes over. These things feel incredibly small when you do them. They feel like they aren't and oppos, making a difference. But when they are repeated consistently over months and years, they compound into an entirely different mind. This is the part of the mental health journey that nobody really talks about on social media, because it ISN and oppos, dramatic. Real, structural neurological change feels incredibly slow and boring while it's happening. It is subtle. It is quiet. You do not suddenly wake up one morning as a completely transformed, permanently blissful human being. Instead, it happens gradually. One day, you suddenly realize that you recovered from a stressful interaction at work much faster than you used to. You notice that you didn't and oppos, overthink a text message as much as you would have last year. You find yourself enjoying a simple, quiet moment on a Sunday afternoon without feeling that familiar wave of guilt or restlessness. You realize you feel calm without having to force it. And that shift doesn't and oppos. Happened because your life suddenly became perfect or because all your problems magically disappeared. It happens because you trained your brain to stop working against you. Perhaps that is the real goal of this journey. At ISN and oppos, about chasing an elusive, permanent state of high-energy happiness. It is about systematically building a brain that allows peace and contentment to exist naturally within you. The brain you have today is not your final version. is not your destiny. It is simply the version that your past habits, environments, and evolutionary programming have built up to this point. And what you choose to repeatedly think, feel, and do next is what decides exactly what it will become tomorrow. So, start small today. Just focus on one single interrupted thought. Notice one peaceful moment fully. Take one short walk. Find one brief moment of play, or practice one moment of pure presence. Small, gentle shifts, when repeated consistently, have the power to completely change lives. If this perspective has shifted the way you view your own mind, even just a little bit, do not just close this video, click away, and forget about it by tomorrow morning. Pick one habit from this list, just one, and practice it right now. Your future is not shaped by massive, dramatic life decisions. It is shaped by the tiny things you choose to repeat every single day. Subscribe if you're ready to stop letting your brain work against you. And share this video with someone in your life whose mind never seems to rest. Sometimes, receiving the right message at the exact right moment can become the quiet beginning of an entirely different life.